anatomy of a point shoe for those of you who don't know, and the difference in traditional point shoes and synthetic point shoes. So a traditional point shoe is made out of cardboard and glue, basically, and then satin or silk or whatever, and that covers the outside. The sole here is called the shank, and then this part that you stand on is called the box. With traditional shoes, this shank part is just like really hard cardboard and layers of stiff glue. Sometimes there's nails in there to keep the sole together, and then there's kind of layers of thin cardboard with glue over and over and over again, and then covered in a silk, satin, whatever setting. All those videos that you see online of ballerinas breaking in their point shoes, most of the time, those are traditional point shoes. And it takes time for you to break them in so that they can kind of mold to your foot better. They're very stiff when you get them. I used to wear Russian point shoes. That's the brand. They're no longer a brand anymore, but they were traditional shoes. When I would just be on my toes like this instead of like this, I would put water on this area right here to kind of soften up that material so that it would be more comfortable when I was on demi point or half point. An even faster way to get that to break down is to spray alcohol right there. Heat and the moisture from wearing your shoes and sweating breaks down that glue and that cardboard so that it starts to become softer and softer, and there's just a steady decline. There's just a steady decline from when you get it to wearing them, and then eventually they're too soft and then you can't wear them anymore. And there's things that you can do to mitigate the breakdown process. There's something we use called jet glue, and it's basically like super glue. And say that I put them on brand new shoes, it kind of seals the fabric in here with that super glue and makes it to where it doesn't break down with heat and moisture as fast. I used to use jet glue to re-harden my shoes after they were broken in, just to give them like a couple of extra days, or depending on like what kind of shoes you have or whatever, you can get a couple extra weeks, days, hours, whatever out of them when you use the jet glue. A lot of people use shellac. You just paint that wherever you want it, and then you can bake it in the oven. And again, it's like a hard lacquer that like reinforces things. Again, it's just another type of glue. You know, you're just in control of where you want it. That was the traditional shoe. So in the past, I don't know, 20 years or so, or whenever these came out, this brand, Gainer Minden, created a synthetic shoe. And that means that the sole, the shank, is not made out of cardboard and glue anymore. It has a plastic silicone shank in it that's pretty hard. When I say silicone, you think like soft, but it's pretty hard. And that makes it to where it's not breaking down, really. It's staying the same for a long, long time. I don't know if like the box, I don't know if the box has it as well. The box, the way they make their shoes, let me back up. Usually when you would go get fitted for a traditional point shoe, they'd be really tight and really hard, and you couldn't really tell how they were going to perform until you got them broken in. And so it would kind of be a guessing game. Gainer Minden, the way they feel when you buy them is the way they're gonna feel, is the way they should feel the whole time. So there is no break-in. You don't want to get them too hard because you're not going to be breaking them in. You want to get them exactly as you want them to be. The only thing that I noticed is that when I got my shoes, I want them a little tight in the box And I have two types of toe spacers. One takes up way less space, and I'll use that one first. And then after like 3 to 6 months, everything has kind of softened a little bit, and the box got a little bit bigger. And that's when I can upgrade to my bigger spacer that has more room on, it has like a soft silicone piece on the like bunion area. So that creates more space in there so I'm not sinking. That's the only thing that I've noticed. When I put my shoes on, I cut the ribbons because they're a little long. You wouldn't do that on regular shoes because you'd be switching them every other day to wear them evenly. But these have a distinct right and left, and they don't really want you changing them. And then also, you know, some dancers will wear a traditional shoe and they don't want to switch them anyway. So now there's a whole bunch of different shoes on the market, and these are primarily the synthetic brand. They have two different styles, and then you can modify whatever you need like throughout that. You can modify like how wide you want the box to be, how far down you want this part to go, how hard you want the shank. And there's another one by the brand Merlet. It's a French brand, and they have a traditional shank, cardboard glue shank, but they have a synthetic box, which is really interesting because I would find that in a synthetic shoe, the box would be like this, and then it would kind of widen over time. And when you widen it like that, then your foot sinks. So like I said, you'd have to buy it, or I would have to buy it super tight so that when it widened over time, then it would be just right. So it's interesting that the Merlet brand has made a synthetic box. Synthetic just means like there's no breaking in. It's kind of staying where it is. I like to save the elastics, so I will just cut these off when I'm done and cut the ribbons off when I'm done. And yes, over time, the ribbons eventually get too short for me to tie, and that's when it's time to throw them away and get brand new ones. Also, I will say that a lot of teachers don't like synthetic shoes because there's kind of like a lack of roll through in the foot. You almost lose like some articulation in the foot because that shank is so strong and it's not meant to like move like that. There's kind of like a spring up effect. Think like toddlers in shoes. They don't really roll through their feet. They're just kind of going like this. And I do feel that a little bit with mine. Like tondos to the back, I can feel like there's not much roll through happening, but you know, I'm an adult, she's fine with it. And I find that I like the stability of the shoe not changing very much over time, and also the shock absorption, like the spring basically of it. I like, especially with my metatarsal bone breaking issues. It's just what works for me. When you first get on point, you will go to the point shop with your teacher. The fitter will look at your feet and, you know, see like how compressible are your toes, how long are your toes, how big are like your knuckles, like, you know, your heel, stuff like that. And they'll put you in a couple of things, and then you, your teacher, and the point fitter will all kind of decide together what's best for you. Yeah, so let's get into the video of how I get my shoes ready.